Hey everyone, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really fascinating and highly specific worldview. We're going to impartially break down the core philosophical teachings of the founder of Life Yuan. That's Guy Shuifeng. Our source text today is a piece called Put Your Finite Life into the Infinite Service of All Living Beings. So, let's jump right in, shall we? We're going to explore Guy Shuifeng's deeply structured concepts around morality, service, and the spiritual realm. So, let me ask you, how do you actually measure the value of a human life? It's a huge question, right? One that philosophers have been debating for centuries. Well, in the teachings of Life Yuan, Guy Shuifeng gives us an incredibly direct answer. Basically, a person's ultimate value and their moral level is measured by exactly one metric: the quantity and the quality of their service to others. That's it. It's not about wealth, it's not about status, or even some kind of isolated personal enlightenment. The single most direct way to embody the value of life is to serve wholeheartedly.
All right, let's move right into Section 1, the core philosophy, looking at service and the spiritual realm.
Okay, so Guy Shuifeng sets up this really strict contrast between the finite and the infinite. On one hand, you have our human existence. It's finite, right? We literally have a limited amount of time on this earth, and we constantly get caught up in our own personal gains and losses. But on the other hand, you have infinite service. And the text argues that the only real way to bridge that massive gap between our temporary existence and eternal spiritual elevation is to take our finite life and dedicate it completely to the boundless devotion of others.
Now, you might be wondering, what actually happens when you make that leap? Well, the text details some very specific spiritual and cosmic rewards for completely abandoning personal gain. Listen to this. The moment you put your whole body and soul into infinite service, you enter the company of gods, Buddhas, celestials, and saints. You literally embark on the road to heaven. And even here, right now in the present, your mind broadens, your Dharma eyes open up, which allows you to see the true nature of beings, so you can tell if someone is a sage or an evil spirit. You basically gain this ultimate ability to distinguish truth from falseness.
Let's transition over to Section 2, Defining Living Beings.
Now, this part is absolutely crucial if we want to understand the true scope of Life Yuan's teachings, because when the text says living beings, it is not just talking about humanity, not even close. The term encompasses literally all lives created by what the text calls the greatest creator. So we're talking about microorganisms, insects, plants, land animals, water animals, the whole shebang, all of nature. In fact, the text explicitly equates serving all these living beings with serving the Creator directly, because fundamentally, they are all one.
Next up, Section 3, the 12 Paths of Service.
So, the text doesn't just leave it at abstract ideas, it gives us 12 really specific ways to serve. And these practically fall into three main buckets: nature, society, and mindset. Under nature, you're instructed to do things like plant trees, never destroy the land, and, this is a big one, never mistreat animals or eat wild meat. You have to actively create suitable habitats for all life. Then, under society, it's all about protecting honest people and preventing tragedy. But under mindset, wow, this is a heavy one. You are instructed to not accumulate any material wealth whatsoever. No property, no money. You essentially have to regard everyone else's happiness entirely as your own.
I really want to zoom in on one specific rule from that list. Rule number 6. It instructs followers to remember the tragic deaths of Yang Galan's 6 family members every single day. I mean, that is an incredibly specific and poignant injunction, isn't it? It really shows that while this philosophy talks a lot about celestials and Dharma eyes, it is also deeply grounded in alleviating real-world acute human suffering and actively trying to prevent societal tragedies.
And all of this culminates in rule number 12. Here, the text uses this beautiful classical philosophical quote to sum up the ultimate societal goal of the teachings: establishing peace for all future generations by securing life and fortune for the people. It's a perfect example of the profound historical depth that Guy Shuifeng is tying his philosophy into.
All right, let's look at Section 4, the mindset of service.
Now, I know what you might be thinking. Living by all these strict rules sounds like a really heavy burden, right? Well, according to the text, it absolutely shouldn't be. When you decide to embark on this road toward heaven, your heart is supposed to be excited with passion. The author's view is that true devotion to the Tao, or the Way, completely wipes out earthly anxieties. All that worry, the pain, the sorrow, the fear, it's all eliminated. Why? Because you've handed yourself over completely to the cause. Okay, this brings us to what I think is one of the most fascinating and honestly surprising metaphors in the entire text, the garbage dumping metaphor. Guide Xu Feng writes that if someone comes along and dumps garbage in a field, you just go clean it up. If they dump it again, you clean it again. You don't get angry, you don't hold any resentment, and most surprisingly, you do not try to stop them. The text basically argues that what other people do is their choice, and you have absolutely no right to block them from their own path. And that metaphor leads straight into this highly provocative philosophical question posed right in the text. Without others dumping their garbage, how would we gain our merits from cleaning it up? I mean, talk about reframing how we usually think about justice and karma. Guide Xu Feng tells his followers, look, don't expect everyone out there to be a saint. The mortal world is basically conceptualized as this dynamically balanced transit station. People just play out their scripts to maintain the balance of the universe. And the garbage, well, that's simply the mechanism through which the selfless earn their spiritual merit.
Which brings us to our final part, Section 5, the ultimate choice, the 1 versus the 99.
So, here is Guide Xu Feng's big closing thought experiment. He proposes a scenario. Imagine there were exactly 100 people in the entire world. He asserts that 99 of those people are going to choose to follow their selfish egos, taking what he calls the road to destruction. The text demands that he must be that one single person who stands entirely alone on the path of selfless service, even if the vast majority goes the selfish route.
And so we arrive at the concluding paradox of this entire philosophy. Selflessness can accomplish oneself. Think about it. You abandon personal wealth. You drop your ego. You literally clean up other people's garbage without a hint of anger, and you serve the insects, the plants, and the people alike. And it's only through that total, complete abandonment of the self that you can achieve ultimate spiritual accomplishment and step onto the way of heaven.
So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final lingering question directly from Guide Xu Feng's text. If you were in a world of 100 people and 99 of them chose the path of the self, which path would you choose? It's a really deep philosophical framework, and it definitely challenges our typical everyday notions of success and value. Thank you so much for hanging out with us on this explainer. Keep learning, stay curious, and we'll catch you next time.